I'm just keeping it, I'm just keeping it, I'm just keeping it, yeah. Give them something, they give them something, they give them something, they pay. If you're tired of being stressed out and been depressed about it, you say, we gon' let you know.
It's official, like a referee with a whistle. So like and share this episode. So should men stay away from women, relationships, and marriage altogether? Now, I've been getting a couple emails about this. I haven't seen a lot of videos online talking about this. And I always say, okay, if you're gonna tell guys, or if a guy chooses not to be bothered with a woman, I don't want to be bothered with these bitches or whatever, right? What's the alternative? That's what. See, the people that are saying this, the people that are telling you, leave them men alone, I'm gonna date a white man, and then they'll get with a white guy, and then that'll go left. Or people that are telling you, well, fuck the American women, I'm gonna get my passport and I'm gonna travel. And then that'll go left, and eventually you get tired of traveling overseas. So a lot of this, just mathematically speaking, it just doesn't make any sense. Because number one, everybody is not going to be able to afford to travel overseas like that. It costs money to travel. A lot of people can't afford it, especially in this day and time. You know, that's just the reality. So for you to say, hey, just get your passport and go to the DR, go to Colombia, go to Brazil, or go to the Philippines. These places are far away. These places, the flight to the Philippines might be just over $2,000 most of the time, especially during the holidays. The flight to Brazil was like what, $700-800? You know, I mean, I never been to Brazil, but I'm just saying that I've looked up price tickets. A lot of people can't afford to pay for rent and pay for a flight the same month. Some people can't afford that shit. That's just the reality. You know, it's some people just can't afford that shit. Now maybe you can. I know I can. But some people just can't. So everybody's not going to be able to go the travel route. And let's say even the guys that do travel and go to these countries, in most cases, they have no plans. There is no plan. All they're doing over there is just partying, having a good time, getting drunk, getting high, and tricking off, buying cooch. They're like tourism. They have the tourism mentality. Most of these guys. And you might be asking, well, how do you know? I see them when I go to these places. I see people when I go to these places. I've known people that's been traveling since the 90s. I've been to all these places that these guys talk about. As far as getting your passport and all that shit. I've been a passport bro before they started saying it. I've been to all these places that these guys talk about. And I'm telling you, most of these guys, there is no long-term plans. There is no long-term plans. In most cases, all they're doing is just traveling and having a good time, partying, getting drunk, high, and tricking off money. And paying, giving women money to do all kind of crazy shit. And then they'll get jammed up in some type of drama, and they try to blame it on the woman that's over there. I'm like, well, you shouldn't have been over there in the first place. You stayed too long. Look, you gotta know when to leave. You can't try to turn a hoe into a housewife. You can't. These guys be trying to, they'll hang around the girl and be like, they know she's a hoe, but then they'll try to act like she ain't and spend the whole weekend with her. And then when it's time to go, she's telling you, hey, you got to give me $150 for spending the whole weekend with you. And you like, what? Oh, I thought you liked me. Come on, man. You know she was a hoe. You knew deep down, you just if you like the hoe, okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't be acting like you didn't know she was a prostitute. That's all I'm saying. Look, you can like anybody you want, but just accept them for who they are. That's all I'm saying. But you can't turn that hoe into a housewife. That ain't gonna work. Some people, they just are who they are, and they're never gonna change. And if you don't like that, you can leave. Don't talk to them no more. Get around some girls that ain't hoes or prostitutes. That's my best advice to that. And the people that are telling you that you should leave men and women alone, well, what's the alternative? What do you want me to do? You want me to lay up with another man? What? Or get a fucking buy a robot? Or some type of toys? I mean, I'm not doing that. See, people tell you to do stuff, but they don't give you an alternative. You want me to lay up with another man? No, I'm not doing none of that. Ever. I'm not buying a robot. Ever. Never, ever. They say you never should say never. No, I'll say this. Never, ever, never. Don't lay up with a man or a robot or a drone. You can forget about that. So, and I like women. I like being around women. I don't like being around a bunch of guys. Yeah, it's cool to hang out with guys, your buddy every once in a while, or your brother, your cousin. But I don't like them better than women. So I don't like being around guys like that. I don't want to lay up with guys. Hey, yeah, I love my boys and my brother. Yeah, cousins. I'm not attracted to men like that. I don't want to do that. So people tell you what you should do and what you shouldn't do, but they never give you an alternative. See, a lot of these people are in the closet secretly. That's what you don't know. A lot of these people are secretly in the closet. They laying up with men and women that's giving you these types of advice. So, in their little twisted mind, they don't see themselves as gay. This is just what they do with men and women. What they do is what they do. They don't see themselves as gay at all. So that's that twisted way of thinking that a lot of us, we don't understand because we don't live that lifestyle. We're not around people that think like that, and we assume when we listen to somebody give advice on anything, we assume that they think like we do. But in most cases, that's not true. They think the way they think, they do what they do, and they don't necessarily see themselves as gay or, they just say, hey, that's just what I do. I lay up with men and women. Yeah, they don't say, oh, I'm bisexual or trisexual. No, They just said, "No, I just do what I do with men and women, and that's it." You know, they just do whatever they feel like a woman. You know, so these types of people that have that mindset, in my opinion, can't be trusted because they have identity problems. You know, if you tell them to pick a side, they won't be able to do it because they're like, "Oh, I want them all." You know. They want them all. They want men and women. So so these are the people that you're listening to online for the most part. You know, ain't a lot of people online that think like I do. You know, ain't a lot of people like that, believe it or not. You know, this is why most people online, if you really pay attention, nothing really bothers them. You know, if you ask them how they see certain things, the world, and how they see relationships, nothing really bothers them. You know, at all. You know, and you have to understand that regardless of what I say or what you think, people, men and women, are always going to try to be with each other. And they're always going to try to get married. They're going to try to make it work, right? Because a lot of people grew up like that. You know, they grew up, some people had good role models. You know, some people saw they had both parents in the household. And then you have some people that had bad role models. You know, so a marriage to them is like a dream if they had bad role models, even though they don't have the right tools to make it work. So it's like a dream to them. And this is why those people end up sabotaging their relationships, because they don't have the tools to really make it work. But in their mind, they'll try anyway. You know, these types of people get married 2, 3, 4 times. You know, every time they get divorced, they'll get married again. Because to them, being married and having a family is a dream. It was a dream for them, even though they knew they had bad role models growing up. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it is. So, and even those people, you're going to tell them, well, they shouldn't be bothered with men and women either, right? But what's the alternative? People online are not really giving them alternative. They'll just throw some blanket statement out there and be like, "Hey, just travel." Well, if it's a woman who you're talking to, what are you going to tell her to travel at? It's dangerous for a woman to be traveling abroad like that. It really is. You know, if I had a daughter, I wouldn't tell my daughter to just go to Mexico by herself or just go to some country in South America by herself without a man. That's very dangerous. You know, there's a lot of predators out here in these other countries. You know, I mean, if you're in America, okay, you'd probably be fine. You know, it just depends. Well, in that Midwest, it's a little different in the Midwest. But going abroad, traveling abroad for a woman solo, that's not a good idea. Things happen to a lot of these women out here, and a lot of it doesn't get reported. You know, I've heard horror stories about a lot of black women going to a lot of these African countries, and they get the shit stolen, they get violated, beat up, killed, all kind of shit that happens. You know, so because see, so online you have to be very careful who you listen to, because some of this advice will get you killed. Some of the advice that people are giving online, I'm like, bro, this is gonna get people jammed up if anybody takes this serious. You know, and I've been out here, I've been around the world. I know what happens and I understand why it happens. You know, and a lot of times when you go to these other countries, and if the locals find out that you're a tourist, you get targeted. Especially if you don't know anybody over there. So you have to be mindful of who you listen to, you know, because some people will watch a video and they'll say, man, let's get your passport and go over there. Some people will actually do it. They will get their passport and get a flight like next week and go to the Dominican Republic. Just like that. And there's been plenty of people that have done that. And for most people, things went well. It was fine. But for some people, things didn't go so well because they had the wrong information. You know? And people are telling you to do things or telling you to go somewhere, and they're not there no more. They left. So why are you telling me to go somewhere that you left? That doesn't make any sense. I would never tell somebody to move somewhere and I don't live there no more. What kind of shit is that? That's like me saying, hey, you know, I lived in Atlanta for like 11 years, right? That's like me now saying, hey, I think everybody should move to Atlanta because this is a wonderful city to live in. But I'm not there no more. Why would I say something like that? That's being disingenuous, in my opinion. I'm telling you how great this place is, Atlanta, Georgia is, but I'm not there no more. That's like, something's wrong with that. That's just like when I hear people say, where they from? Oh, I love my country. It's a beautiful place. But they up here in North America. They left their homeland. How do you love something so much, but you left and you leave? That's a huge contradiction, just logically speaking. So this is why if there's no alternative, I don't give people no advice. Because I already know, you know, most people have to have something to replace what they already have or what they're already going through. That's just logically speaking. You know what I'm saying? So just be careful who you listen to, where you get your information from, because it could be deadly. You know? And it's like I said, I'm not laying up with another man. I'm not buying no robot. I'm not buying no toys. I like women. And women are not going to change. It's not going to change. The game is cold out here. The only thing that's going to change is you. You are the common denominator. That's it. You know, and every woman has a different relationship with everybody. Man and woman. And the man and the women she encounters, she have a different relationship with everybody. That's just how that is. I understand that. That don't bother me. Because I have relationships with certain women that's entirely different from the guys and the gals she's around. You know, I understand that. I don't got a problem with that. You know? And I talk about a lot of this in my book, Boss Life Secrets, which can be found on Amazon.com. You know? But hey, tell me what you think below. Like, share this video. I'm out.
Alright. Just got the call, it's going down tonight. It's a lot of goodbyes here tonight. But then I saw the sky and that I like. Here from Cali, I live in the valley. Then you look same.